But I have an absolute duty to make sure that a generation under me learn how to build wealth
Mm. Mm.
unapologetically.
That
Wow.
is so
Unapologetically.
amazing.
Wow.
You got on your keys. You got on your keys. Everything you want on top of everything you need. Just got on your keys. Nobody could take this. Built it from ground up and nobody could break this. I'm making real moves. When I see it, I want it, I get it. Let's build an empire, baby. I know that you with it. Can't nobody stop this. They can only watch this. It's time to talk life balance, love and marriage, all the trending topics. No off days, come up the hard way. Never no shortcuts. I took the long way. Gotta leave treasure for my kids' pleasure. Every loss been a lesson and an unexpected blessing. Planting seeds showing up, small money growing up, accomplishing my goals, champagne bottle pouring up, name on everything, I'm signing the dotted line, money been working for me, I'm kicking back on recline, I own it just like the moment, everything I became, my hustle could take the blame, solidify my name, gotta walk through the rain, gotta go through the pain, you gotta soak up the game, create your own lane, switch gears, never change, level up and gain, you can have everything long as you do one thing, you just gotta own your keys. You just got on your keys.
So what's up, you guys? So welcome back to the On Your Keys podcast. I'm your host, Mink, and we have my co-host right here.
Jay Day, aka Mr. On Your Keys, y'all, aka the Monopoly Boss. What's good?
What's up, everyone? We are so excited to be back here again. And today, you guys, we have a special lady, Councilwoman Chauna Banks.
Hello, thank you. I can't say all that cool stuff you all said.
Oh, well, how you doing?
I'm doing well, doing
That's
excellent.
Good. That's
Definitely.
good. You had a pretty good day?
Yeah, I was at work today with some kids, so they keep it interesting.
Yeah,
high
yeah.
schoolers.
How is it? Jay and I, we've worked, doing some entrepreneurship in the schools and things like that, and I know that counseling, education is a big part of your background. So like, how is that nowadays being in the education field? With high schoolers.
Yeah, well, actually, I just got off the phone with retirement, so they gave me some good news that I could retire any day that I'd like. So that was that was interesting. But our high school kids, and I like to work with difficult populations.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally currently my population is overage kids. 2 or more years.
Okay.
I like to work with adjudicated youth, those that are in and out between the detention center and schools. Those that have difficult time passing those standardized tests. So I like to give hope to a lot of kids that don't have hope.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of our emphasis is always on the wonderful kids, they do it all right.
Yeah.
But I like to focus on the kids who struggle, who actually have the challenges. And, it is there where I could literally see a difference. Because you see, for instance, I have a 16-year-old in the 7th grade. And just the idea that I'm able to come up with a plan where, he is discouraged, but, we probably could do this in 3 years, bruh. Work with me.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of populations that I like to work with.
Yeah. And for you guys that don't know, this is literally what she does every single day, even within the community. And I think that was so amazing that you said that, because I was going to bring it back to that, the work that you do, one of the things that, she's doing, and I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but she's really trying to get a grocery store, in her district. And the reason why is because in her district, that is the largest food desert that we have in the city.
That's right.
Yeah.
In the entire parish.
Yes. And, that just, to me, whenever she said that about, just really being able to get into the trenches and, work with people that feel like they don't have a plan or that may feel like they've been left out. That's so, so, so important whenever you are in a position of leadership, because you're the person that can literally put the plans together to not only help people, but then help the community also. So I think that's very, very, very important. Yeah, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And I knew you worked in the school system, but I didn't know that was the demographic of kids that you work with. But it's so interesting to me because, me watching you over these years, as a councilwoman, and seeing the different approach that you have amongst, everybody
Real.
else. You're a senior a senior council person at this point.
I'm
you
glad
know,
you learned
you're-
that terminology.
Yeah.
I've been working on getting my council members to realize I am the senior.
You are,
councilwoman.
third term,
Third term.
and that's huge. But
Yeah.
to know that that's the demographic that you work with in your profession, you actually spill that over into the council as a community leader as well. Because if y'all haven't listened to her or followed her, it's not politics as usual. Like
Yeah.
she says it how it is,
Right.
and not afraid to actually say what needs to be said, and that's something that you can't always appreciate or see happen in politics.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would like to ask, when we're talking about leadership, and that's one of the things that we're talking about is how leadership impacts wealth in the community. How have you saw yourself being able to have that different approach and see that change in your style of leadership?
So I think because of the fact that it's really interesting to say that I am constantly fighting for the least of these. A lot of time people think this is my experience. But, I actually grew up middle class. Both parents were educators, went to Southern Lab, private, Southern University, master's degree. Never had a struggle, nor have my parents, because we were all in Scotlandville. And even my parents, born in 1956 and 57, never experienced racism.
Wow.
So so because of that, I think it has given me a sense of pride and dignity, where I understand that I deserve and my community deserves equal access to education, to community service, to infrastructure. It's a demand. And so one of the things that I think the way I lead is empowering people. I think over the generations, especially, Black people in the political arena has not been that long. It's only been maybe 45 years, 50. And I think the first generation of leadership, they were, really excited to be at the table, but somewhere along we became so assimilated that we forgot why we were there.
Yes.
There's a particular purpose for being Black and in a room, and it is to give your perspective.
Yeah.
It is to demand, command, and stand up for people that look like you.
Right.
And it's a learning tool. So the first of all, is to let people know we're not begging, we're not asking. You owe us this.
Yeah.
You owe it because of sacrifices, and you owe it because it's inequitable, and we're paying taxes.
Yeah.
And then making sure that people in the community are armed with the information. One thing that I found about a lot of wealth in the white communities in Baton Rouge is they've taken advantage of government. So when I get to the council, I'm talking about these contracts where that Black people should be able to get, and not just as subs. They
Right.
should be the lead
Primes,
on
yes.
in contracts. Also, adjudicated property. A lot of people became rich because they got adjudicated property,
Yep.
and now they're building and making million. Most of that north of downtown was adjudicated. It was a ghost town, and so rich white people got rich off of that.
Yep.
In giveaways, in tax subsidies. And so my thing is to teach Black people how to take control of that same thing. And particularly, I really believe, though much that has happened in Black communities or as a result of us being starved of resources, I don't want white people to build us back. I want Black people to build us back. I don't
That's
think that you
amazing.
starve me and you expect me to rise to the same level of success when you've starved me, and then you get rich off of me when it comes back.
Right.
So I'm talking to young Black developers all the time saying, hey, what do you need? What do you want to do? Really advocating for that when I figure my time now is not to prove anything. Like, I'm 60. Like I said, I could retire.
Right.
But
And the thing about it is looking at the demographics of everything that you've done and what you and and what you are continuing to do is so funny that you continue to say that is the one thing that you want to do. Is we say access to assets, but you really live by that. And I remember reading this not too long ago. I'm gonna say it was a couple of months ago. There was an article. I screen recorded and I sent it to Jay. And I was just saying, like, I'm so happy that you stood up and you said that, because at the end of the day, it was just all about the quality of life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even
Right.
for the students, And I was like, that was so amazing that you stood up, and some of the things that you said, I'm just like, wow. Like,
Right.
nobody does this. Nobody says these things, that need to be said, that people are afraid to say because they don't want to be blackballed.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess being black is so good that even blackball is being good for me. I don't have sense enough to know that I want to be anything that's black. I want to be that.
Right.
Yeah.
And and it is controversial, and sometimes I don't always have the right words.
Yeah.
And that's because of my passion.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if it went crazy when I was talking about students walking across the graduation, and my thing was not out of anything other than I'm on that side where we are thought of as buffoons.
Right.
The entertainment in the room. I'm on that side where I am fighting stereotypes, where we are the clown. And that makes me mad. So I am not going to proliferate. Is that the right word? I'm not going to help that when I know what the storyline is behind it.
Right.
That's what that is about. And so over time, people's like, okay, I get it. But we if nobody else stands up for raising our children in a way where they are going to be successful, then who else? I raised my son to live without me. Every parent should live and rear their children to live without them. I hope I'll be 100 years old, but I wanted my son prepared to live without me,
Right.
to live without his father. And that's where parents got to understand that this is a mean, cruel world.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of the civil rights of 1964, racism, prejudice, pride, and greed still is there. And we have to know that it's okay to make our children feel like they all that. We are afraid as parents to raise our children as kings and queens. And the one thing that I wish I knew raising my son is that he was a king, that he had authority, that he did not have to be in any way
Settle for anything.
And I've taught him that. I was like, your mama and your grandparents, we knew to work 30 years on a job.
Right.
I want you to know that if you want to work 30 years, but you better have 2 and 3 streams of income.
Yes.
I don't want you to go through what I went through.
Right.
That if you have to walk off a job, your money's still coming.
Still coming.
So we cannot just raise our children to grow up, get an education, and get a job. We need to rear them to get a job, get a business, get some investment income. There's money that you might go to, but there'll be money that the check gonna come whether you wake up or not.
Right.
And that is what I am. That is like, I wish I'd known.
Yeah.
But I can teach others.
Right.
Yeah, because
Now that I've learned
yeah,
it,
exactly.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said that, because we did the last show we interviewed a researcher, and we was talking about building wealth and financial literacy in the school system. And with you being an educator, and we have a lot of theory, especially when it comes to everything that you just said. When I read about John D. Rockefeller in 1903 that established the General Education Board, and his words, end quote, is, I want to build a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers. So when I revert to that and I hear that and I think about a system that every human on this earth is required to spend at least 12 years in.
Yeah.
And not one part of that system they teach you about money.
They teach you about the thing that you cannot live in this
Exactly.
world.
Exactly.
Like literally,
they
refuse.
They refute
Right.
anything about money, wealth, taxes, insurance, just financial as a whole.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny, like what you said, even about blacks, about how late we are to the game, right?
Yeah.
We
Even
had
insurance.
everything,
You
because I
know?
mean, literally, we had
Cash
400
valuation,
years
yeah.
of that we was just
That's
late.
right.
So even now, we stand on like, we excited. We own businesses, and we still late.
Yeah.
We still late because we got business we business owners, but we still don't even understand how to financially structure the business.
Right. Because I mean, a lot of times it goes back to what she said. We've already started behind.
Right.
Yeah.
So because we're behind, it's like, when we're in business, we're not thinking about those things. We're thinking about every day just trying to make money to feed our families.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's
so it's
right.
like we don't really have the time to do
Right.
that. But
the luxury.
Right.
Exactly.
The luxury.
Exactly.
So when I think about just John D. Rockefeller, I think about our white counterparts that by default they gonna learn money in their house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But us, we could go back 3 and 4 generations to where our parents or
Yeah.
grandparents, great grandparents,
Survival.
they didn't. That's all they knew. So that
Survival,
wasn't
yeah,
being
you're
taught.
right.
So my theory was, well, why not input something that where all of these kids got to go to regardless? Why didn't I learn the financial literacy as equivalent as we learn science, English, and math?
Because
Right.
we're not dissecting frogs out here.
Okay, no,
not.
we're not.
I'm sorry.
We're not,
like,
right?
I
we're
didn't
not.
think I didn't do it in
Right.
class.
We're not doing
so
that.
So,
you know,
with you being an educator and everything that you just mentioned, I want to know what your thought process in a policy that adopted mandating financial literacy, real financial literacy in the school system as equivalent as core curriculum.
I think it is absolutely something that can very much be part of our curriculum now, because when we talk about college and career and all those skills, all of that can be blended into the educational system. But you have to have teachers who want to do that. Who want to empower a student, who are empowered themselves.
Exactly. I think
You know,
that's a big
it's
part of it.
twofold.
Yeah.
And so again, even whether it's our parents, a lot of leaders have not reached that echelon of self-awareness that they can even give that to another child. A matter of fact, they are intimidated by the fact that a student or that's supposed to come under them could actually be that astute in that area. They can't give what they don't have.
Wow.
You know, so yes, it's very much possible, but we got to have it to give.
Right.
When it comes, and we cannot, anybody that thinks, and this is one of the things that really disturbs me about even our successful blacks. You know, the fact that successful middle-class blacks who have made it, they do not even see themselves in other blacks.
Yeah.
Blacks who are successful will easily accept without any contradictory anything that a black male says, a white male says. But they challenge everything that a black. Our self-hate, our self-awareness, our distrust of one another is horrible.
I
Oh.
say that all. I was
It is
saying
so
that. I said that
horrible.
a couple of podcasts ago. Yeah. That,
And part of it is the fact that they are afraid that it could all be taken away
exactly.
from them.
But that's
And in
what,
some cases, that is true.
yeah, but that's where
Right.
you have to have the right legal representation.
Well,
You
not-
know?
well, not just
Yeah.
that. That's where
well,
you
I'm
have-
saying
that's-
in terms of
And
when
the
you're doing
multi-
it. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. That's when you have to.
multifacets.
That's when you have to be an owner of assets that's
Yes.
going to pay you regardless.
Yes.
Because that's where the fear comes from.
That is where
the
it
fear
comes from.
The fear of speaking on things. The fear of losing.
Yeah.
Is the fact
Okay, I
that,
get where you. Okay.
that I have something that you can take
You
from
could
me.
take from me.
Right.
So
You know?
Martin Luther King, and we hear all. I mean, every white person in America knows at least one quote, Martin Luther King. But Martin Luther King did not become a threat until he started talking about black economic power. He was not a threat. They wasn't worried about us being equal and going to school and necessarily none of that. But when they started he started talking about the economic system in the United States being racist and that black people needed to build their own wealth, that's when a target got, that's when he started getting arrested and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the same today. I'll just give an example of the Metro Council. You know, we just went through redistricting. And, you know, the numbers, the data clearly shows that the city of Baton Rouge is majority black.
Right.
However, we have this 7-5 council with 7 white Republicans and 5 black council. And I was just thinking how this is not just the lack of equitable representation of blacks in this community, but when you think about it, the fact that it only takes 7 votes for any agenda item to pass, how can the mayor literally be equitable in giving out resources and contract and funding to black communities, black businesses, and black people when she has to depend on those 7 white people to vote on everything regarding her budget?
Yeah.
So how can she? Even the black, we have a black pro tem, but how can he really strongly?
Because it's not equal already.
Be able to stand,
Right.
Yeah.
even in the fact that on how our meetings are run,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, that's not power.
You still gotta
You
factor it in.
Right.
How can
because
any
we don't have the
council
majority.
member-
We don't have the
Right.
majority
Right.
when we are the majority.
Right. How can any council member
You-
that
you don't
is
even
on
have
a
50-50.
board who wants to be on a board or a commission be approved or voted on unless they play softball with 7 white Republicans?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So we're literally, no time in the other have we had all these black representation and this black leadership, but really and truly we have no power. As long as we have an inequitable representation on the council. Now, do our council members know that it's not that it's inequitable? Of course.
Yeah.
But and I learned this in graduate school, that white people are taught to be in control. They are taught that they have power. We are taught to get along. We just want it. What did the guy say?
Even in school.
Even in school.
Even our guidance counselor.
I gotta be liked. You know,
Right.
you gotta like me. I gotta get along. I don't want to cause trouble.
And
I don't want
one thing we know is that they don't even have to like each other to make money together.
They don't have to like each other
They don't have to
all.
At all.
At all. And you know, so it's so many games that are being played, and we are, as you indicated, we are still so behind.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the way to do it is to get property. We laughed at that
We
40
say this
acres and
all
a
the
mile
time.
and a
We do.
mule.
I know.
But
Yeah.
40 acres
I
and a
wish
mule
I
now.
wish I would get 40 acres in a Mustang
Okay.
right now.
But literally, I mean, property, and it doesn't.
It is, because
it does
real
not
change
mean
comes with ownership.
it comes
Yeah.
with
That's the
ownership.
reality of it. When you own, people cannot
Right.
take it away from you.
Right.
That's the thing. And the reality of it is, when it's all said and done, that's the one thing that
That's right.
that was never afforded to us.
Right.
That's the one.
And that's
thing.
the one thing when we did get in our black community that was taken away.
Right.
If you notice, all across the country, including Baton Rouge, when an interstate came through, even what we about to do on the widening of I-10, even I-10 North, it took taking black people property. I remember when I-10 North came behind my grandfather's house, where the front part was the houses and the garden, and the back was all the field. And when I-10 North took, I remember my grandfather crying about them that taking land, because you don't have any choice.
You don't have a
So
choice.
we're gonna see that again with South Baton Rouge with I-10 North. We saw it in the 3 subdivisions we lost with the airport expansion. We saw it at University Place. So even the value as it relates to blacks with property is always subject to being taken away or destroyed for the use and the maintaining of
peace,
of
getting along,
of government,
Right.
of government and
Right.
progress.
Right. Which goes back to, can we just all get along?
Yeah. I can't think
Right.
what's I got.
That was Marvin. Wasn't that Marvin?
Who had the truck driver in California?
Oh. I forget who.
Yeah,
I know you're talking about. I
like,
forget.
can we just all get along? Yeah.
But you know,
Now he just got his head busted in, but he said,
Yeah.
"Can we all get along?" Right.
That's how it be though.
Yeah, it
you know?
is. It is.
And that's why it always brings me back to that education piece because, you know, one thing I say about our former leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King is they were so passionate about the work of change, but they knew that they may not have lived to see the change.
Yeah.
But the work still had to get done.
Yeah.
And I think us, you know, even us as millennials, we're a generation of selfishness that even if I'm for a cause,
Yeah.
I gotta be attached to the cause. I gotta see some benefit from the cause.
Right.
So that's why we can.
My name got to be in.
That's
the
why
headlines.
we can march for 90 days,
Yeah.
and then after
And
that,
get
cool
tired.
no more.
Yeah.
Then it's over with.
Right.
And then when something else happens, somebody get killed or whatever, then we could do it again. I'm like, that's not protest.
Right.
That's not affecting change.
Right.
Yeah,
They-
that's being reactive, right?
They marched for 380 days.
Yeah.
Like we not doing
381.
nothing. We ain't riding no buses.
I
we
tell
ain't doing
people all
none
the
of
time,
that.
I am so glad I did not have to be with these people doing civil rights, you know?
Right. Because
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad. I've said that for years. I was like, I'm
No.
so glad I have to be with this group of black
oh
people.
Lord, we wouldn't
I
look,
know.
we wouldn't have got nowhere.
Right.
No,
right.
it's so.
But you know, we've done Martin Luther King and Malcolm X a disservice.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because after all their sacrifice, we fumbled the ball.
Oh yeah.
And the reason we fumbled the ball is because we did not duplicate after their kind.
Yep.
Once they did the work
Wow.
and once they died, then we thought we had it made.
Yeah.
And so for the last, civil rights, I think it's been 64. So that back in 2014, I think it was 50 years or whatever. It's like folks thought they had it going on. And so we did not teach the generations in the past. So that's why it's important that I teach my son, you teach your children, just let them know the struggle is real and it's still going on. And I don't care how much success, you still black.
Yep.
You still black and it could be taken away from, and that's why you see so many black leaders, when they do one little thing wrong, they are massacred. They are crucified and they never recover.
Yeah.
But white folks, they just reinvent themselves, you know. All's forgiven. All's forgiven. And we're as hard on our people as also. But another thing is we got to realize we can't afford to make mistakes.
Right.
Not as
Now
a
that's-
people.
yeah.
We literally have to walk circumspect because all it takes is one stumble and they're going to kill us.
Yeah.
They're going to kill our reputation. They're going to kill our money. They're going to kill our position because that is the nature of the beast.
Right. Wow. So let's shifting a little bit,
Okay.
you know, going back to senior Councilwoman Banks, third term. What do you see as far as your political career? Are you going to keep this going even when you're not on the council? I know it's just like how have your time in leadership to you has been so far,
Sure.
and what are some other things that you think that you want to instill into the community?
Well, I think for me, I did not have, some people like dream about being in politics and that's always what they thought. I was 50 years old. And literally the Lord called me to be in politics. I've always been a leader by nature, but I've never wanted to be in the front. I always like to push other people.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like that, but, I'm owning it now a little bit. But both my parents were the first of their children. Their parents, and I'm the first.
Okay.
So I think that leadership part and takeover part is part of who I am. But literally, I could not speak in public. When I was called, I saw it, everything was black, sweaty palms, did not have self-esteem.
Wow.
Did not. Knew how I was as a human being, but not really like, this a whole nother thing. This this politics thing.
Yeah.
And so once I accepted the call, I remember the Lord saying, I had gone up to an altar and he said, I'm going to make a spectacle of you. And, you know, when you grow up and your mama, what's the first thing your mom tell you? Don't make a spectacle of yourself. Don't make a spectacle. And that means like don't make a fool of yourself. Don't make a shame. So like I'm driving home and I'm thinking, why the Lord want to make a spectacle of me? I thought he loved me. And I can't figure out, you know, I'm like all around. So as soon as I get home, I Googled a spectacle, and it said an unusual occurrence. And I was like, I could go with that.
Yeah, yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
And that is literally where I've gotten my energy.
Yeah.
As it moved forward, I think all politics is local. I think being a council member is the greatest position of every level, whether it's the local government, state, federal. I'm serious. To me, the real action.
I can agree with that.
If you're about the right thing.
Right, exactly.
The real, now if you using it as a step ladder, you ain't gonna get nothing done.
Yeah.
You're gonna get done at this level, the next level, and the next level.
Right.
I could call names.
We've talked about that.
I could call names.
And then
what even like you can see it.
It shows.
Yeah, it shows.
And so I mean, people have been asking me to run for state rep since like 4 years ago. But I knew what my list is.
Right.
I'm like, it is no way that I can operate at this level looking ahead. There are some things that I want done, and I want whoever come behind me, they can't mess it up.
Yeah.
That's literally. So that means bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
That's the kind of change I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The thing that's still on my list, that's been on my list since 2013, is that doggone grocery store.
Yeah.
And this time,
what do you think is a problem with that?
the problem is nobody tried. And that's it's a lot of lip service. We have, especially during ARPA, I mean, the money just flowing. But every time we get an extreme, and I don't think it's going to come again, where we have such an advantage as in the black communities to turn things around. But just think about it. Here's the time in City Parish, we're getting all these millions of dollars. But where are they putting it? Stormwater on the white part of town. So every time there's a problem, that the person's property in the higher echelon becomes more important than what is ours, even though we've gone through it longer. Their issues came in 2016. Our issues came 40 years ago, with the lack of infrastructure, the bad roads, lighting, businesses being able to get and do well.
Right.
All of that's been our history. But what has taken all the interest? Stormwater.
That's true,
And so if we would start giving us 75% versus 25 like it's always been, that's a heads on a swivel thing. But guess what? It needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Yeah.
It really does.
It won't take long, to turn things around, but everybody else's priorities are always more important than the priorities in the black community. But then they want us to have low crime, low poverty, no homelessness, but you want all the money. And then you blame us.
And what's the number one? What is the number one contributor to crime?
It is poverty.
Yep.
It's
And
a
where
lack
does poverty
of resources.
Thank you.
It's all of those
Yes.
things that they don't want to put any money in.
Yes.
They want to point the finger. They want to incarcerate. They want to penalize people for those issues. But let me put an agenda item saying that we're going to build, let's give $1 million to build anything that has to do with homelessness. Now, what is it for? Well, who's going to do it? We did it go out for RFP. Why do you have black developers? Every questioning under the sun. I see it every day on the council. It's ridiculous. But we sign up on stuff we don't even know who they are.
Yep.
They Google us for a $15,000 contract. Well, I went online, the Secretary of State, I saw that they didn't get caught up on this. It's ridiculous. They're greedy. And it's ridiculous for anything. But we sign sight unseen contracts and we can't even follow the money. Nobody says, I think it's a great idea. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, back to your question. This is my last term, and it actually,
Really?
2024
Yeah.
is when this cycle ends. There are some opportunities that I am exploring, but again, I need to get this grocery store.
Yeah.
That is the last thing. Baton Rouge Business Report had an article about 4 or 5 years ago that called Nicholson the last frontier. And I'm thinking, well, God dog, if Nicholson is a frontier, what about Scotland Avenue? What about Scenic Highway? But that's the mentality. But for me, Scotlandville is the last frontier. And the reason it's the last frontier because it was the first frontier. There were only
Wow.
three black communities in Baton Rouge that have always been black. Old South Baton Rouge, that Gus Young area, and Scotlandville. Everything else that they doing, all that Plank Road Court, that was white folks.
Yeah.
But yet, where's our concentration? It's not Scenic Highway, which is a government highway. It was Government Street first, which was not all black. Then now they're looking at Plank Road, which was not black. But they have not looked at Scenic Highway. All of them state highway, but only Scenic Highway goes through a black community, even though it leads to Mississippi. That's crazy.
And then the interesting part about that part of town, it is so much land and property.
It is.
And I need all y'all black people to get it go get all of it and put houses on it.
We're gonna have a conversation when we finish.
That's right.
You know.
Get your nonprofit. I was just
it's-
thinking, not only if you have a nonprofit, we could donate it as long as you use it for public use. And I try to get the churches to do this, but we got to realize, I'm telling you, that's our future.
I agree, and I think I know that there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to develop a master plan centered around Southern University.
We have
And-
one.
Yeah, they do actually have
Yeah,
one. They do have it, but to be able to execute it, because that's a
That's what I
catalyst.
say. Yeah.
That's
That's
the
what I say.
staple.
Yeah.
And it's so much opportunity. We was having this conversation the other day. Just Baton Rouge as a whole has so much opportunity.
We have so much money.
That too.
I say that all
That too.
We have so much
the
money.
But people
time.
take for granted and forget that, with us not being on the radar when it comes to major metropolitan cities, you have to have the heart to go out there and tell people why your city needs to be invested in.
Right.
Because if you're just waiting for them to come to you and say, hey, I want to dump $50 million into developments of Baton Rouge, it's not that they won't, but how are you showing them that this is a place
Just
to be?
and y'all are in real estate.
Yeah.
When you about to sell a house or a building, how you do the stats, you talk about what
Counts,
the
yeah.
amenities,
Yeah.
the assets. That is what we need for a grocery store in Scotlandville. We need to talk about things like that we have the oldest number of retirees and farm workers, the highest number of paid off mortgages.
Right.
We have to talk about the fact that our economic engines
Household
are Southern
data,
University,
yeah.
Southern University, Baton Rouge Zoo, Hall Place, Airport. If we don't do, I guess what y'all call that sheet.
So,
Like a
it's
feasibility?
feasibility
sheet
or
where you
comparative
talk about-
analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you put all that on around the house.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need a retail strategy. Nobody has ever done. We don't count. We haven't counted cars. We don't talk about the demographics that are around, because the only way you can get from north to south is you got to go Harding Boulevard for I-10.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you have a grocery store?
I was thinking about that. Yeah, when you said that, I never thought about that about seeing it, because
And
I was
it's
like,
like-
They
wait,
can't get
that's
to Central. They can't get to Bacon Zachary.
Yeah,
They can't get to
it's-
Miss unless they get on that interstate.
Yeah, you got to go through there.
yeah, and I didn't think about that until she said it.
Yeah. So
And there's a big, large piece of land right next to the Palisades.
yeah.
I mean, I know who owns it, but we could
Where
talk
is
about
Bill
that.
Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and there's talk about a grocery store there. That would be horrible. Absolutely horrible. Nobody even had a meeting.
Right.
They just put money, and that's another issue. When white people come into our community, they think they know what's best for us. Just because we do not have those investments, don't
Doesn't mean that,
disrespect
yeah.
our community like you take what I give you and I don't have to consult you.
Right.
That's not a gift.
Right.
If
And
I'm
it's-
a big girl.
And then it's at the same time, it's still not a good money move for
Right,
nobody.
It's not.
Even,
And the thing
even,
about
even for
it
them,
is-
because if
Right.
if you're not assessing a situation
And they
to make
still
an
did.
investment and
They still did.
utilizing the people in the community, then we was talking about this about development. Then you're
Yeah.
not making. That's not a good
that's not
good development.
thing. And then who's gonna when it fail? Who gonna get the black eye?
Yep.
We gave those people up there at grocery store and they didn't even support it. When we saying it's not good,
That's not-
the
yeah.
same retail
Right.
strategies you would use anywhere else, use it in our community.
Because
I
the data
promise you
is
we'll
there.
make it. The data is there.
It's there.
We have over $1 million leaving Scotlandville every year, and it's just ridiculous. And so, my thing is, I don't. That's, I was saying, I'm a big girl. If you buy me what's the smallest car there is?
A smart car.
A smart
Oh,
car.
yeah.
I
Like
am
a
not
Fiat.
going to be appreciative. I am not. I'm going to tell you now, I will not be appreciative because I would have to crawl in, crawl out, and can't forget. They have to get
So fellas, y'all heard that?
Yeah,
if you,
don't buy
if
me
you
a
don't,
smart
if
car.
you- If you're dealing with Councilwoman Banks, don't get her no
Don't
smart
give me a
car.
smart-
She ain't
go,
feeling that.
Go buy me a big car, a SUV.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to appreciate.
Right.
So how is it a gift when I'm telling you don't buy me a smart
Right.
car? And you buy me a smart car. You wouldn't do it. You ain't buying
You
it
didn't
for
want me to
You bought
appreciate.
that
You
for
wanted
you.
to waste your money.
You wanted that for you so you could feel big.
Right.
You know,
right.
You wanted to
Right.
feel big with me in a little car. So, and
Look,
that
you
is
trying to
the
surprise?
mentality.
You trying to surprise me and
Yeah.
expecting me to be surprised
Yeah,
when
when I
that's not what I
told you.
want. I told you.
So,
Follow
you know.
directions.
Yeah. That's not a gift.
Yeah, it's
But
not.
that is the other thing. They, oftentimes white people really think they know our problem. They know what the answers are.
Wow.
Now it's a lot of craziness going on, folks.
It is,
Yeah.
and I think that it makes sometimes with that it does make you want to dissociate.
Yeah.
It does because you already know you fighting a losing battle. At
Yeah.
least
And you like, why I gotta fight?
yeah.
Like, why I gotta fight so
Right,
hard
right.
To
for
just-
something good?
Yeah.
When
You
we had the
know.
redistricting meeting, we saw black people after
That
black
was-
people and white people like literally begging the council to do right, saying they were pulling on their religion, they was putting on their Christianity. It's like, and I'm thinking, you begging people who had no problem enslaving people for 400 years. They ain't got no heart. They don't feel that.
Wow.
That is just makeup. That we are whoever we are, a product of our experiences. And if these are people who for 400 years they didn't care, they didn't have a problem with people being beaten, flesh falling from the ground, raping the women, taking their children at birth. Why do you think they care
I
about
said
what
this
you're
like
saying?
3 weeks ago to him. We literally laying across our bed. Like
I felt so bad.
I talk about this stuff a lot. I just don't. I don't say because I know that in the world that we live
Right.
in, you damned if you
Yeah.
if you do.
Yeah.
But I literally was talking
I
about
was-
this, and I'm like,
People were trying to appeal to hearts that don't exist,
But it's like what,
feelings that don't.
it's
They
like-
don't identify that with us.
you don't even
They don't
understand.
see us like
you
that.
Can't,
but it's like what you said earlier. We can't expect white folks to save us.
Yeah,
That shouldn't be an expectation.
Yeah.
And you have to identify, you have to identify who people are, how they are, where they are.
right.
Yeah.
But we
Because
should,
everyone isn't bad.
yeah,
but
and it's not that.
Just,
It's that we should have more,
They bad
more,
by omission or commission. So yeah, they are bad.
more. We should have more self-respect and more dignity to
Right.
say, if we want to see a change in our community, we are the ones that have to make it.
Yeah.
We have to, we really have
Gotta
to have
register to vote.
register to vote, and then we have to have a better understanding of how do we put ourselves in position for longevity.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Like
That's right.
because we still are far behind,
Yeah.
But if we can shift some of the mindset, do we
Yeah.
have the opportunity where we can
Within
actually
our own
Yeah.
take control?
community.
The opportunity is there.
Within
You know,
our own
exactly.
community.
But it has to be a collaborative
Yeah, it ha-
effort.
it-
That's
it
the
has
thing. I
to
think
be.
that's one of the things
It
that
has to be, and that's
we
the
have to do as
and that's the
people
thing that
come
we're not
together.
that we don't do well.
Yeah.
We're not collaborating well enough
Right.
to see a actual change.
Well, that's
Right.
because of the trust
know?
factor. She said,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's why, you know,
Yeah.
it's bad. But the thing that has held families together, you know, is
Yeah.
the family aspect, you know.
Right.
You know, you think about it. You think about even back in the days, like that is what held people together.
Right.
You know, and now it's everybody wants to be an individual.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that
Spirit
does,
of individualism is a monster, especially in the black community, because we were so dependent
exactly.
on each other. But, as I said, the assimilation, has really taken its toll on us. I could go in so many things. I even think about, some blacks who are successful or unsuccessful or whatever. And I look at social media and they have, 4 and 5 luggage of, what is it, the Louis Vuitton?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, the glass and Gucci. And I'm thinking, why are you making Louis Vuitton children rich? I ain't wearing nobody's name but my own. I'm serious, and I like nice things and
Right.
everything, but it ain't like that with me.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually go everywhere I go in the Louis Vuitton store. I look at the price, and I'm like, I just can't give you my money.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna get there, and I guess it depends on how much money you have.
And I think it's a mindset shift as we should think about buying things of quality, but not for
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Not for-
that's a good
not-
way to. Yeah.
not for-
Right,
not to be
status.
looked at.
Right, there you,
know,
go.
it's
There
not-
you
it's-
go.
it
I
should-
bought this because it's gonna last me
Yeah.
50,000 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Right.
which in most cases those brands are good
Right.
quality. But
I
if
like that.
but if you're getting it because you think it's gonna get you a
Right.
million followers and people
Right.
gonna like you and you're gonna look a certain way,
Right.
that's the wrong
That's
mentality.
self-esteem.
It
That's a
is.
self-esteem
It's self-esteem.
issue.
You're still not gonna feel good
Yeah,
afterwards.
you're
And
right.
when you look in the mirror, because the mirror does not lie. You
Right.
can have
At
all
all.
of
Right.
Louis Vuitton.
And that's the
At
thing.
all.
I mean, I don't want. And again, I mean, I was just thinking, like, I was telling somebody that when my son was a child, he's 33. In high school is when Michael Jordans came out, and so that was like the big deal. And I remember the Michael Jordans costing $100, right? And I probably would still buy my son Converse. The only reason I had to buy my son Michael Jordan, he started wearing a size 14. And Michael Jordan was the only one that had size 14. But I like, and even, I just think we as black people, we commercialize too much on things.
Yep.
I'm a
Yeah.
shopaholic. I tell anybody, but I swear I don't think that should be. I don't think that it should be based on who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, and if we doing, our children are looking at that. And as I said, I went to a private school because the generation before me were only second generation. Their parents were first generation educators, and they were the first ones to move into brick houses and subdivisions and teach at Southern and work at Exxon. So many of the kids that went to school with me, they lost their parents' homes when they died. They could not keep up. And it was because their parents made them too enabled.
Yep.
They spoiled them without responsibility. And that has to change. And I am so glad, even though I was like that, I still knew my mama would still give me the stories that they had to do. They had to do a whole roll in the morning before school and one after, and slopping the pig once in the
Yeah.
garden. All that. If you better teach your children to hustle, and you better teach them what your people went through, that this stuff didn't just fall out the sky,
Right.
and that they supposed to do more than you
Than
do. The number one family I respect out of all the black families when it comes to generation is College Temple.
Mm-hmm.
I use that example all the time.
Yeah.
They need to teach a master class.
Yeah.
His College Temple, the senior was an entrepreneur. College Temple Junior, College Temple the third, and all them boys.
Yep. True.
I'm serious. They need
True.
to teach a master class. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's exactly right.
That's how it's supposed to be. So when I see them children, them go-day children, being multimillionaire, I'm gonna say that they got it from that stock that mom and daddy taught. And mom and daddy made them work for it.
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't lying.
And they
Yeah,
started
we
them
sure
They
look.
early
definitely
with
got to
this.
work.
It's
That's it.
probably a little. I think it's a little rough with my daughter. I'm like, oh, but the boys.
That's gonna get it before she gonna have it before the rest of them.
Yeah,
Watch.
Yeah,
She
I ain't gonna
fighting.
lie. She fight. Ooh, she.
That's all right. She gonna be the
Ooh,
main
fighting.
she's
one.
so spoiled.
She gonna be the. Oh, that's ain't nothing wrong with being sport. Everybody's sport.
Bruh, Lord.
All ain't nothing wrong with sport is teaching them responsibility.
Yeah.
We were sport. I was sport. My son is sport. He's still sport. His children sport. It's not sport being sport. Nothing is wrong with being sport. Teaching kids that they are not entitled is the difference.
Oh yes, and that is
That
the
is
one.
the
Now
thing.
see,
Exactly.
that is the
That's
one
right.
thing that I teach her
That's
because
all.
she's
Ain't nothing wrong with sport.
yeah.
Especially they cute.
Yeah.
And I know she's cute. I've seen her. She's cute. How do you say no to cute? You
I know, Lord, and she's
Jay,
really a good
Jada wasn't
kid.
doing it. He doing the damage.
Lord, I don't even want to get on that.
Uh-huh.
I don't even want to get on that.
Yes, indeed. Ain't nothing wrong with sport.
Well, y'all, this has been
Thank
so.
you.
I know that y'all learned a lot because let me just tell y'all, this was beyond real.
Hey, I knew it though. It always is. I had no doubt.
I know.
I hope y'all lose no sponsors behind me.
I had no doubt.
This
Look.
was good. I really feel like this needed to be said because,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's a lot of things that get thrown around, but, you know, people don't really want to stand on it. And, you
Right.
know, she's standing 10 toes.
Most definitely. Most
For
definitely.
real, for real. So we thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all already know how to get in touch with us. DM us on your keys. Follow us. Investor Queen, the Monopoly Boss. And as always, peace, love, and blessings.
Peace.
Yeah.